Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thanks,
I'm very
Chris.
happy
you.
to have you guys here. I got Mark Borgmeyer, aka Borgie,
That's correct.
and I got Dane McCartney
Yes, sir.
of the Lost Boys.
Yes, sir.
So I have a lot of questions today. What we're going to do is we're going to ask some questions, and we're going to take our viewers and our listeners on a little journey about how the Lost Boys started, and then we're going to get a little bit about you guys and how you guys got into music.
All right.
So my first question is this: why the name Lost Boys?
So I'll take that one.
Yeah, I'm going to give you that one.
So I moved down from Chicago. Wasn't really ready. Moved down, failed relationship. It was terrible. So kind of found myself in a new job, stranger in a strange land, new place. But I had sang in an Iron Maiden Judas Priest tribute up there, open for Queensryche and all this stuff. So I was walking in one day to check the fire equipment at the Lost Kangaroo downtown.
Okay, so you're talking downtown Bradenton.
Bradenton, correct. And there I meet Rico. Well, Rico is the other guitar player. Rico's been at the Lost Kangaroo. I don't know. I think he was bartending for God or something.
He was on
I mean, he's been
he's
there
the
forever.
original Main Street.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
yeah, we're talking 20,
So
30
anyway,
years
so
now.
I
Jeez.
go in there. We start talking music. He's got long hair. You know, we start going on. And he says, "Well, you were a Maiden tribute band?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Dude, my boss is a huge Maiden fan." I'm like, "That's great," you know. So anyway, he said, "Well, what are you gonna do between the times like when you're down here and then when you travel to Chicago? Like, how are you gonna keep your chops up?" I said, "I don't know. I haven't thought about it. Sing in the shower. I don't know. You know, this is all new for me." So Rico said, "I know a bunch of guys. I'm gonna put a band together for you." I'm like, "Really? Do you play?" And he's like, "I haven't played guitar in 11 years." He's like, "I got a tough history with that, so haven't played." Anyway, man of his word, he went, started talking to all these guys, including Borgie here. Said, "Look, I got this guy, Maiden tribute band. He's down here, wants to put a project together." And so we were doing a lot of 80s music and a lot of other themed music, like some 80s music that's not your standard run-of-the-mill music. So we kind of figured it's the kind of the Lost hits, you know, the Lost versions. And of course, I met him at Lost Kangaroo. A lot of the music originally was in the 80s. The Lost Boys, huge hit in the 80s.
Sure, remember. Yeah.
So I was like, just one night, I'm like, Lost Boys.
Perfect.
It's gotta
Because
be
you
it.
know a lot of people struggle with band names, and you seem like you got one pretty quickly.
Yeah. And it's been great.
Now, who was the
been-
original drummer with that one?
The original drummer was Jesse Rojas.
Yes, I know Jesse.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, Jesse was in there originally. And
Bass player.
Bass player Chuck Reedy.
Chuck was okay. Good.
Chuck was the original, and we had Ray Foss playing the keys in the band. We had a
So wait a
bass
minute.
player.
So this is
another
you're
bass
talking about
player.
a six piece.
We had a 6.
Yeah, we
Wow.
were. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
somewhere along the line, you know, Borgie said something about putting him in the corner. He's not kidding. So when we were first starting out, Borgie got put in the corner of the stage because he was in front of Ray. It was just his side of the stage.
Yeah.
Well, Ray always decided to bring maybe 3 boards out with him. So Borgie is like standing over there trying to, you know, wail.
It was tight on these stages that
Yeah.
we play in this area because
guy's a maestro.
most
but
of them
he's
are very
put in
very
the corner
little.
by Ray. So we actually have decided, you know, Ray and Chuck have moved on. They've got other projects. They're
Yeah,
very
they're
busy.
Always busy.
And we kind of wanted to put the band in the forefront. So we decided instead of a keyboard player that we would pipe in the keys. So that's what we've been doing. We've been piping in the keys
Yeah.
so we could keep the music. And our drummer, Mike Salois, you know him. You've played with him.
Great drummer.
He's
Yeah, he's
fantastic.
fabulous.
Is he in
Fantastic
charge
drummer.
of signaling those?
Yeah, for
those
the
tracks?
sequences.
He
Yeah, I
is.
mean, we only do.
Yeah.
I mean, we do about a third.
Yeah,
maybe
about a third of the
third of our
songs.
music has sequences. The rest of it's full band.
Yeah.
And if we didn't have a keyboard player and we didn't have to do sequences, this band could do anything we wanted to do.
Well, here's the
without
thing.
It, so,
I think that you
but-
guys use them very tastefully.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because some bands, I think, might abuse
Yeah.
sequences or tracks,
Mhm.
whereas I think you guys use them very tastefully.
Yeah,
Mhm.
very much so. Well, we're all players too, so everybody wants to. We want to shine in that realm. So
So your side of the story. I mean, you're a monster guitar player.
thank
You just happen to be sitting around doing nothing, and this guy shows up and goes, "Hey, we're going to get a band together."
No, actually,
Or Rico.
yeah, I mean, actually, what really happened is, I had did with another original band that I had just gotten back into the States from a little tour that we did over in Europe, and Actually, Rico, we had a gig with the band structure of the Avenging Benji band, which was one of actually my singer's band. And we had just come back and we had somebody, Wade Black, who also has sung on a lot of major records. We had him go over with us. And when we came back, we thought, let's just do a show because there's not a lot of original music going on. It's been very slow. And this is going all the way back to like 2018. So we did a little show at the 5 o'clock Club and we did our show and Rico showed up with Dane, which is the night I actually met him. So, and I guess he said, "Hey, let's go check out my friend Borgie." And
Yeah.
because Dane didn't know anybody in the area at the time since he just got back into town, and I've known Rico my whole life basically here. So we basically we did our show there and talked to Dane after that. Rico was just enthralled by Dane as a person and as a singer. And for me, I was like, I'm just a happy-go-lucky guy, especially in music, and I just like to have fun and I like to be happy and I don't like a lot of stress. So these guys threw that out there, and I already have known Rico for so long. And then when Chuck and Ray Foss, which I've also known for 40 plus years, and Jesse Rojas for the same, we've all known each other that many years.
Yeah.
So when Dane actually incorporated his vocal parts into these songs and his personal, basically the person that he is, which is just an incredibly awesome person, which is what makes us, that's what makes the Lost Boys work, just to be honest, because
no doubt, no doubt.
it's a group of guys that have been together a long time. And even the guys that aren't in the band at the moment that were in the band originally, they're all doing their projects in this town. And we all talk, we all see each other. I go out and see all the bands play. So we're all supportive and it's fabulous.
Yeah.
And then I had no issues to join the band with the people that were involved because I am,
First of all, what did you think the minute you heard his voice? I mean, what
Oh,
was
I
your
thought it
first
was awesome. I mean,
because it's unique, right? A lot of guys
Yeah.
can't sing like him.
No, absolutely not. He's a chameleon on a vocalist for being able to do a lot of music styles
Judas
with a
Priest, Maiden, Kane.
Yeah,
It's not easy stuff.
He goes, I mean, he goes into Rush, and he sounds like Geddy Lee on Rush. I mean, he's just a really, really chameleon, and I've known a couple guys that have been able to do that, and that's a very, very skill trait that not everybody has.
Well, let's talk about that. So, Dane, how did you did you take vocal lessons as a kid, or you just woke up one day and realized you could sing? And I mean, how did your journey go with that?
Just I grew up loving music, and when I was a teenager, I found Iron Maiden. They opened for the Scorpions and loved the Scorpions, no disrespect, but Maiden was on a mission. They blew them off the stage, and I was head over heels. I was like, this is awesome. So started singing and started realizing that my voice was sounding a little like Bruce Dickinson, which is great. God bless me with that. That's awesome. But it was hard to get my own identity, and that was important to me down here. Is doing Maiden all the time in Chicago. So these guys just being such awesome guys kind of let me go through identity crisis a little bit as a singer. The AC/DC, and now all of a sudden, people are saying I sound like Bon Scott, and so it's fun for me. I just enjoy. I love music of all kinds. So it was great to get away from just the heavy metal, just the Iron Maiden, and start to do some sticks and some stuff like that. It's been so much fun.
So, because you're professionals and you're so true to the music, what makes you guys really, really good, and I think you're one of the best bands out there, is that you guys play it note for note. You're so true to the original music, man. It's like you pay respect when you do these covers, man. You do them so well.
Oh well, thank you. It's definitely not by mistake. I mean, we've done songs in the past, and maybe I sounded okay on them, or maybe one of the guys in the band was struggling with some chugging along in the song. We always felt like if we can't pay it respect, let's just not do it. Just drop it.
Yeah, gotta try to find the right fit. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of songs out there. There's a lot of great musicians, but you still have to find the right fit. And there's a little bit of a Lost Boys edge on I think everything we do, and you're not going to take that part of it out of his vocals. I can't necessarily. I'm not a chameleon on a guitar for trying to mimic every guitar player because I've got my own thing that I've done.
I would say I agree with that.
I think we put a twist on almost every song we do, whether it's Foreigner or Styx or even Iron Maiden or Judas Priest or any of those. There's still a little bit of each each band member kind of creates their own little entity. Our drummer, Mike Salois, is a very progressive,
Singing drummer too, which is great.
Singing
yeah,
drummer,
yeah, and
yeah.
he's again wonderful vocals all the way
Mhm.
around. We all try to work on that just to help out on the song. So
Now, who's in charge of the set list and also, the new songs that you're going to do? Like, how do you guys come about all that stuff?
We got a text message thread that make your head spin. It's this thing's about 4 days long. The 5 of us get going
Oh, geez.
on ideas, and it's hard for us.
Yeah, it's
But it all
tough.
comes down to kind of that. If a song's important to somebody, I'll try to sing it. And but if I feel like I can't do it justice, I'm like, man, maybe we shouldn't do
Yeah.
that one.
I agree 100%.
So,
The
yeah.
singer's got to first be able to sing.
We're always me personally. The band is secondary. It always has to be a fit for him because if you're gonna have any band cover, original, whatever, you have to go out and sell it, and that's really the biggest thing is selling the band and wanting these people to really enjoy what they're hearing. So he's really deep down. He's got to feel the music. He's got to know that he feels comfortable doing it. And even on some songs that actually some of the songs that the band picks out. Sometimes there's a member here or there that might not be comfortable with it, or we might be like questioning, is it going to work?
Mhm.
And then we get into a vibe and the crowd loves it and it's working and his vocals are working. And then all of a sudden it's like, wow, that was a great idea. That song
And
actually
it
is
becomes a
working.
staple. Yeah.
And it becomes part of the Lost Boys rapport.
Yeah.
So, and that happens all the time too. So you can never say, I can't do it, can't do it, can't do it. We like to experiment and we'll try anything. I mean, I try anything pretty much.
Now, are you guys doing
So-
2 75-minute sets? You're doing 3 60-minute sets? Like, how are you breaking up your show?
It depends. We try to do 2 sets.
Yeah.
I feel like that between that, and you've probably seen it too sometimes, depending on the venue. Sometimes between that second and third set, no matter how well things are going, people start that looking at their watch, and it's time to take off and go home. And we don't like that. We want to keep them there.
Try
Just
to play to
having
the
a good
crowd.
time.
Try to play
Yeah.
to the crowd. And
So we do. We
each venue's a little different.
generally speaking, we'll do 2 sets every.
So, like
every-
a show would be 7 to 10, 8 to 11, and then you would do 2 sets, take about a 20-minute break.
yeah, that's about it.
A lot of ours are 7 to 11, which
Yeah.
is
Well, that's what I was thinking,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
if they're
yeah,
saying
yeah.
to you,
Yeah.
we're going to pay you for 7-11, but then you're like, okay, I'm going to do 2 sets. So then are you doing 2 giant sets?
yes, and and that's happened before. We'll plan the first set to be about an hour with 3 sets. Plan the first set to be about an hour. We'll go maybe a little over that hour.
Well, we've done.
And then we get back on the stage after about 15, 20 minutes, and we just start going. And usually it's Mike Solis. He's hysterical. He's saying stuff all night. I mean, he's just saying stuff all night. So sometimes he's like, "Let's do it, let's go," and we're like, "Oh boy, we're not going to stop him." He's on a roll.
He doesn't care that hands are bleeding and and my shoulder's giving out. I'm like, are we going 3 hours straight tonight? I think we did. We did a 3-hour straight show not too long ago, and it's like, wow.
Yeah, it's Mikey.
Yeah, as long as someone's giving you drinks, I mean, whether it's water or alcohol, whatever, just so you can stay
hydrated.
Well, again, we're there for entertainment and we're there for the people.
Right.
And if the people are digging what they're hearing, then we're going to give it to them.
You know what? At the end of the day, it's about selling drinks, right?
Mhm.
So they're paying you. They're paying Jacked Up as well.
Yep.
They're paying us to entertain their folks, so they'll spend money,
Yep.
and maybe they'll eat some food, and they're certainly going to dance, and and at the end of the night, they're going to have a ring. And they're going to look at that ring and they're going to determine, okay, this is what we did. This is what this band brought in.
Yeah.
And that's how I tell bands, if you want to increase your pay, you have to really work on increasing your audience.
It's true.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's always been true. That's
Mhm.
always been true, especially in this town that I know of, from going all the way back to the beginning.
Now, you guys play from, I would say, Clearwater down to Punta Gorda. Is that safe to say?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Do you go any further south of Punta Gorda or any further north than Clearwater?
We have not
not.
yet. We're open
Oh.
to it, but we want to find the right thing. Like, for example, if we were to go to Daytona or something like that, we want to
Bike
do.
week. You guys would kill it at Bike Week.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, but if we did that, we want to probably string 2 shows together,
Of
maybe
course.
at Daytona and then in Orlando.
Yeah.
or
Make
something.
it work
Mhm.
out logistically.
Yeah.
Now, do you have management? Are you doing your bookings yourself? Like, how are you handling all that?
Yeah, kind of doing it all ourselves, which gets tricky because we're all extremely busy.
Yeah, everybody's busy and
yeah.
I mean,
working and-
you're in freaking Germany playing with
Mhm.
metal bands. I mean, you're doing original stuff over there. So like,
Mhm.
how do you book your shows? And you got to wonder where if he's going to be in the country.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's where the text messages come in. And
Yeah,
Borgie's been
communication.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
communication is
Yeah.
really where it's at on
Uh-huh.
that.
Yep.
And working around. I mean, obviously the clubs all book out 6 months to a year out,
Yeah.
and your commitments are 6 months to a year out, but the club doesn't have to have they don't have to solidify their commitment to you as this town. It's not a paper contract. So all I do is get and the original shows all get booked out too, 6 months to a year out, obviously, especially
Mhm.
in Europe. So those shows I already have those dates, so I put those dates together. And to be honest with you, next year is the first year where dates we're going to have to mix and mesh around.
Yeah.
This year was no big deal, but
Yeah.
next year does have some little bit of a mismatch here and there. But as long as we keep all the clear dates together, and again, the Lost Boys is not a full-time band, so we're not playing every weekend.
Well, that's
So
also good. You know why? Because people don't see you that often. So when they find out you're going to be at, say, Stottlemyre's or Big Top,
absolutely,
Yeah.
they're going to come because, like, oh my gosh, we
absolutely.
haven't seen them in a couple months.
Yeah.
Well, and we
Yeah.
like to and Dane does a wonderful job on marketing part of all that too, and we like to make sure that all of our shows become an event because we aren't full time, and the only way you can really be a full time band and really create that mysterious kind of oh wow I haven't seen the band in a while is if you're traveling a lot, and you've got to travel a lot.
Yeah.
Which means you've got to be up in Tampa, you've got to be in St. Pete, you've got to be in Punta Gorda, you need to be in Fort Myers because if you saturate the area in 3 different clubs, then people just aren't going to keep coming to see you.
Yeah.
And I say that very candidly because I go see all my friends to support them, but I have business with
Well,
all these bands too that I do in my business.
every time
So
I've seen Lost Boys, you guys have always had a good crowd.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's
it's
yeah,
working. What you're doing is working.
yeah,
yeah.
Now,
it's
how do
been
you keep
good.
the set lists fresh? Are you rotating stuff? For an example, my band, we sometimes get into a rut, or it's just maybe call it laziness, where we'll play the first couple songs like pretty much every show,
Uh-huh.
and then I'm like, come on, guys, maybe we need to take that song out, but it's a great sound check song.
Mhm.
How do you guys handle that?
Same way. I mean,
Yeah.
we'll get. So we opened with Perfect Strangers for I think 5 years, and finally
Which
I'm
is a
like,
great opening.
it is.
Probably,
And finally I'm like,
we can't do it
enough.
anymore.
Like
Yeah,
enough.
Right.
It's just,
Nope.
we got to come up with something else. So we learned a couple of Scorpions tunes and opened the night with the Scorpions and stuff. So openers are very important. Again, being a Maiden fan, you got Aces High. It's the best opening song of all time, in my opinion. So the opening song is always very important to me. It sets the tone. So,
It
but
is. Yeah.
the set list is great because our newest member, Chris Leary, he's awesome because he reaches out to us and says, "Hey guys, show coming up next week. Dane, you doing the set list or am I?" And usually, it's like 50-50. And then of course, if he does the set list, then I jokingly bark at him on stage about how ridiculous it is that he put these songs
Yeah, there's some
together.
songs together like Mike Solois doesn't
Yeah,
like some block songs together
right.
because they're way too intricate.
Yeah.
And then me and Rico, sometimes there's some songs that we put together that's like, Jesus, you trying to kill us? Like, and he's like,
Yeah.
I'm just fine. I'm just playing bass. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, Chris.
Yeah.
But I used to do some of the set lists before. Dane's done the set list before. In the earlier days, some of the other members used to do it, and we used to try. But honestly, with Chris taking over, there's certain things in the band that it's really, really good for someone who has maybe a little extra time. Because putting together your set list and songs, and we take some songs out at some shows because every venue's a little different. Your Woody's crowd is not the same as a Stottlemyre's crowd. It's not the same as a Gator Club crowd. So you have to kind of like work around some of those songs. So we're doing a really good job now by letting Chris he's got a little extra time to put things together, and then we pull songs here and we pull songs there. And
Because you guys are playing some FM rock and roll that some of it's obscure. So there are
oh,
people in
yeah.
the audience that will look at each other and say, holy shit, these guys are playing that song.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, wow. So talk about like an event. It's like a wow moment. And that's what's
Yeah.
cool about you guys.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah,
doing
we've
stuff
gotten
that's difficult to sing, difficult to play, and you're pulling it off.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you. That's
Yeah,
awesome. The
and
other
it's, and
thing
it's
about
a great compliment to the band, to be honest. One of the
Yeah.
biggest compliments to honestly, and this has been from actually day one, no matter what songs we have presented to our audience over the years now.
Yeah.
But it's always been a very, very huge compliment, in my opinion. At least I take it as that people will let us know that we love your set list. And that's a really odd thing to kind of come up to band members and say. I don't even usually go up to the bands that all my friends. I don't necessarily go up there and say, I just love your set list, because a lot of times I've heard so many different songs over the years, and there's some really staples that people, I mean, if you're a Jimmy Buffett band, everyone's going to see that. They're going to play some Margaritaville. They're going to do all kinds of different things. But for us, we're so obscure that you never really know what song is on the backside of another song. And it could be Iron Maiden to Tom Petty.
That's what I'm
And
saying.
that's really like, wow, that's like, we're not an 80s show. We're not a 70s show. So we are very,
It's a rock show.
It's a rock show. And we definitely try to create the event of it, trying to be a rock show. We do need, obviously, the bar and the bar tab and the money and the dancing, and all that plays a very intricate role in being a cover band in the area. But we actually are creating a very little different niche for us that actually is creating a nice vibe, and our set list is a huge part of that.
I agree 100% with that statement. Here's the deal.
Yeah.
You guys are above the normal BS of, playing these particular songs that are bar songs, because you guys are now an event. You could do whatever the hell you want, and people are going to come and enjoy it. And the bar's going to want to have you there because you're selling drinks.
Yeah.
That's what's cool. I mean, you guys have gotten past that,
we did.
Summer 69 American Girl, Benatar,
And we struggled with that.
Yeah.
This has been a struggle. We still struggle every day, because we're talking about other songs. We added a couple new songs not too long ago, and they work. And if they don't work, we just scrap them, and then we move on to other songs that work for this band. And again, you're selling the song. So even if you play it well, if people are just like, then we're not really doing our part.
Yeah.
So we're on a different path now, even mixing it up even a little bit more now. So
I think the other thing too, and I can attribute this to what's working, is the fact that Chris Leary, before he joined the band, he was a fan. I mean, he came and saw the band, and he was like, I love this. So when he's creating the set list, he's like, what would I want to see the Lost Boys play?
That's very cool.
And he does it, and he's a fantastic bass player. He's so solid. Does all of our finances, and the guy's been such a huge.
He's been a really.
He really has, and I also want to throw out too. We were talking about advertising. I do want to throw out. I have a guy in Chicago named Matt Proposio, and we call him Threeps. Anyway, he did all of the artwork for the Judas Beast stuff. Well, he's been doing all the artwork for the Lost Boys, and our posters and stuff, and what he does with the logos, and all the stuff he's added. And I think for Stottlemeyer's, we're like head cut off, and we're like, we have some evil like butcher who's like selling our heads for some, but he's amazing. He's a true talent.
Get your ribs and get some Lost Boys heads too.
Yeah. And I think
Fang Bangs.
Yeah, Fang
Bang
the
shots.
drinks.
Yeah, there you go.
The drinks.
See,
Fang Bangs.
There was that.
That was me. So the Fang Bangs.
It worked.
And Rico taught the bartenders how to make the shots and stuff.
So you guys have your own shot. That's pretty cool.
It's a collective. The group is a collective amount of everyone in the band actually does. We all actually have a little part, and we do a little part
bit of role,
because we're all really busy, and we can't all do it. We can't all take on one role, because the band is, there's. Just running one man show in a band, taking care of it. That's a full-time plus job. Just trying to keep a band running. So
I also want to say too, with the advertising, Jacked Up, you guys do a great job.
Well, thank you.
Man. You guys do a great job. I love the artwork.
I enjoy that. Yeah.
I love the smarmy little.
I always tell people I'm a marketing guy that just happens to know how to play the bass.
Yeah.
My first love is marketing.
It's awesome.
Well,
I appreciate it.
You guys over the years have always had just incredible marketing all over.
You guys do great.
Thank you. We had some Jacked Up hot sauce behind you. Do you see it?
Nice. All right. All right. I like that.
Get your chicken jacked up.
Right. Sweet. And some Jack.
So
I'm good with either.
Have you guys, when you're on stage and you're doing your set lists and you see maybe people dancing, will you call off or wave off songs and maybe do things to keep them dancing?
Yeah.
For an example, let's say, I don't know if you have any slow songs. Do you do a slow song? Is it like a ballad?
Stone Cold by Rainbow.
Okay.
That's our slow song.
Okay. So there's a perfect time for that when you know people are going to want to hear that. But you might not want to play that if you have a full dance floor, right? You might wave it off and do something else.
Right.
Yeah.
So, we do.
It's his call most of the time. Most of the time it's Dane's call, and then we all scramble.
One of
we all scramble.
One of the reasons I never picked up an instrument is when I started to learn to play guitar. I always felt like the guitar was between me and people. And one of the reasons I loved Maiden growing up is because I felt like Maiden was us. Like the whole experience was just, the whole room was an experience. And so I feel that. And when I get there and I feel the crowd and feel guess what they're feeling, Usually I'm pretty good about predicting. I've been wrong a couple of times. I'm like, let's play this, and then everybody sits down and stares at us. So it's happened. But generally speaking, I've been pretty good about, calling those things out. And they're great about making adjustments and
Yeah.
tuning and stuff like that.
Let's talk about
Yeah.
gear. You guys have a sound man every show?
Yeah.
Yes.
And is it
Yeah,
who owns the
absolutely.
gear? Is it his? Do
It's usually always sound company.
so
Yeah,
you'll hire a sound company
we
brings
have
in his gear.
we have sound company for
Yep.
all of our gigs actually.
Okay.
Yep.
And on stage, I see that you're going with full amps on stage.
Yeah, we definitely have guitar tones on stage. I always have gone old school most of the time. Rico
Mhm.
actually is new school, so he'll go direct, but he'll use monitoring on stage.
Yeah.
So
Because
Yeah.
for the room, sometimes it's better to go direct. My next question is inner ears. You guys using them?
we all have before. Um,
3 of us are
Three of
using
them
in
do it now. The two guitar players, me and Rico, actually at this moment do not. But
Yeah.
we all at one point in time we were all running in
I
ears.
mean, guitar players like to not wear them. Singers, I think, have to wear them.
Yeah.
I know that when I wear them and I'm singing backups, I'm a better singer because I
Yeah.
can hear everything and I can
Yeah.
harmonize better. It kind of
Yeah.
takes you away from the party, right?
It does.
The ears.
Yeah, I would. Well, I never wore them both. I always would wear one, so I always have one in and
Yeah.
one out for me. So I'm always getting some of the room vibe, no matter what, because it's part of the feel aspect of it for me.
Mhm.
So, and I having one in my ear was always for vocals. That was the main issue was for vocals. I didn't throw anything else through there but vocals, and it's fabulous.
Yeah, no doubt.
So there'll be a day when I'll be back into doing that again. It
I think
hasn't
it
been this
comes down to the
time, but
room. I mean, if you're doing a corporate event or if you're doing a small bar where there's a lot of walls, yeah, you may have to do it, right?
yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
But when you're
For sure.
outdoors, man, everything goes, right?
Yeah.
Well, some of it's efficiency and some of the technology, but to be honest with you, some of the technology and the efficiency is not efficient if you don't have a sound man that really knows what he's doing with
Mhm.
your band.
Very true.
So that's why all the festivals and all will not, the festivals will usually run all stage monitoring and side fill monitoring. And they'll give the drummer, if he's, I mean, even the drummer will have monitoring because it's easier to give them certain mixes on the fly
Yes.
than it is for giving a 6-piece or 5-piece band, which is what the Lost Boys has been. And we have a very complicated music, ensemble with how we do things. So having everybody's in ear being just wonderfully tuned to perfection so that we can present a really nice show. Like my whole thing is to make sure that I am presenting a show. Because I'm going to be honest, the technology part of it for me sometimes takes away from me giving a show if the
Mhm.
technology is hurting me. So if I'm being hurt by technology, then I'm not doing my job. And my main job up there is to entertain your audience.
Do you find yourself
So
tuning a lot? Are you tuning a lot, or do you switch out guitars?
I tune probably every second you could think of,
Really?
to be honest with you. Yeah, because because I beat the crap out of a guitar.
That's true.
And unfortunately, in this environment, most environments, the instruments don't like to hang on to their tuning real well, especially in humid Florida.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it is a nightmare most of the time. I'm one of the guys that knows exactly what to do on them.
But does it
So-
affect the show in the sense that you're going from transitioning songs? Does the band continue on while you're still tuning?
Oh yeah, well you pick and choose your times.
Yeah.
And this band has become we have become very streamlined compared to where we first started, as you would know. Being in a band, if you had a different drummer every other show, or even a different sound guy every other show, that kind of puts a little riff in how streamlined your band is.
No doubt.
So bands like some of the bands like like a 22N band, which is somebody that's been in this area for so many years, they were running their own sound, so they had their entire production was in-house, ready to go. So it makes it really streamlined, and that streamline makes it easier for just a side guy like me to know when I can get my guitar tuned, when I can not have it. Trying to just keep the show moving because you want to keep it moving. So there's no dead air. So that's where the singer comes into play. That's where everybody kind of has their little formula to keep everyone entertained because you're not, we gotta take 5 minutes to tune everything up. So in a lot of ways, just being streamlined is just the comfortable part of how the band is gelling. And we have been together long enough now, and we put our last piece in, which is the bass player, Chris Larry. And now even that from that day forward, we have become a more streamlined band now. We are more streamlined than we've ever been. And that's just in the feel of knowing where everyone's going to be and what my other guitar player, what Rico's going to do, what the drummer's going to do, what Mike's, I mean,
Yeah.
it just makes it a lot easier. And
Yeah, it does.
there is definitely a formula in that. And just by playing with bands, when all of a sudden you're just like, this is easy. This has gotten easier now. This is
I
not
hear
a
what you're
struggle.
saying, man. And another sign of a good tight band is when there is a mix up or a screw up, how you can come back together, how you can find each other.
Absolutely.
That's
Yep.
another art.
And that is true too. Because we're all human, and everybody, we all have our little hiccups here and there. And it is. And once again, being comfortable, knowing where your drummer's at all times, never looking at him, but know what he's going to end up doing. It's like, makes it
Do
easier.
you guys take solos or even small little solos? You let Mike have a little fun back there?
We let Mike have some fun. I'm going to say that individual solos is not, it's not a key element that in my rapport generally. I don't. It's one of those things that I rather present the music. Everyone has their place in the music. We do a little rush, so our bass player gets a little. We do a little STP, which is an incredible, crazy bass line.
Mm-hmm.
A drummer gets a little bit of Neil Put by doing rush. So I mean, those are the little highlights to go. Wow, that guy knows how to play. But I don't. And we don't need a bunch of different individually solos to like make it look like we're trying to sell individuals. Because honestly, we're selling a package deal here. We're selling you the Lost Boys.
Mm-hmm.
So I rather put, instead of a little noodle here and there, put another song in there for people to grab a hold to. Because again, the majority, like I play metal, and he plays Iron Maiden, in a tribute band, and those people our audience, when we're playing the shows and local shows, 90% of that audience is not musicians. So we're not playing to a bunch of musicians. So we're not really trying to impress them. We're trying to bring those people from a place that they used to have wonderful memories, which could have been the 60s, 70s, 80s. So we're trying to bring them along on the ride of why we're doing this. Not to say that, oh, wow, the guitar player, I mean, me personally, I know a lot of the players in the area, and I know a lot of their noodles that they do. And I'm not impressed by any of that personally. I actually just really love to hear a band. And I go out every weekend to support and hear bands, to be a listener. I don't go out there as a musician, man. And everyone thinks I do because it's like, oh my gosh, Borgie's this and this and that. And I got my repair business. So obviously I've been working for all the musicians in the area for 40 years now. But I go out to grab a beer, and I just want to enjoy and listen. And I go out and listen to a lot of new bands, because there's a lot of new bands up and coming. And I go out and hear you guys.
I've heard. I can tell you. Yeah, I remember when we were starting out, Jacked Up, a couple years ago, and you came to see us. And I never forget. I turned to my buddy Larry. I said, "Oh fuck, Mark's here." I'm like, now we gotta play. We can't, we gotta get serious.
we gotta up the ante. Oh,
yeah, it's like shit.
Oh, crud.
You know what I'm saying? It's like we get all nervous now.
I know, and that honestly, that is not what not what I want when I go out. But but it's a true statement all the way. And people do that. But I really just like to. I'm out there listening to the music. I'm trying to get the whole energy vibe that Dane was just talking about. Like, I'm reading the crowd. Are we getting the energy back from these people, or are they just laying there like, I mean, solos in little parts of different songs. There's some songs we do that have some incredibly crazy solos that need to be done pretty right. There's some drum parts that need to be right. There's some bass parts that need to be right. So if you look through the band at players, since you're a musician, you can see the talent within that just by the players. I don't need to go hear a 12-bar blues for 30 minutes to know if a guy can play the guitar or a bass or
on
drums.
top of that, to answer your point, some of the songs that you play are very challenging songs. So the fact that you can even do them is a testament to your musicianship and your professionalism.
Yeah, and I don't want to offend anyone that's doing the wonderful blues and the jazz and the classical, everything within this area that's been a staple of this area, especially the Southern blues. And, that's been around since I've lived here. I've been here over 50 years now. So.
Well, isn't it funny how there's so many good musicians here?
Yeah.
I mean, a great example is you moved here from Chicago.
Yeah.
I bet you right now there's a guy moving here from Chicago.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But there's also a core of guys, like you said earlier, some of that
Absolutely.
Allman Brother connection. that have been around forever,
Yeah.
and there's some amazing blues guys here.
Yep, there's been
mean,
some
there's a
amazing rock guys that have lived in
Yeah.
this area. I've worked for a lot of the guys in this area that are they're iconic legends of the industry.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is a melting pot, and it's probably you could ask anyone that's lived here um, for just a number of years, and they will tell you that this area has been blessed with the arts and the music.
And venues, right? There's opportunities for us to play here.
Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
think they're getting smaller now, especially the hurricane didn't help, but
things are
No.
yeah, things
there's
have,
opportunities for us to perform.
things have definitely changed over the years. It's been a roller coaster ride in this area for so many years, and it has been a little tougher now. But then, I- honestly, I think the saturation of bands that are out there now is the most I've ever seen since I've lived here. So there's more bands. There's more. I don't.
I think so.
There. Oh, it's yeah.
But
it's
what protects you guys is that you're playing a different kind of music.
Yeah.
I mean,
Summer.
there's a band. You ever heard of the Sunset Strip?
absolutely.
Okay,
Yep.
so they just played recently at the Twisted Fork. In fact, that's a great venue for you guys, Twisted Fork.
Yeah.
You guys need to get in there. But
We
we'll,
have-
we'll
yeah.
talk
played
about that.
there once.
Oh,
Yeah,
did
we've
you?
been down there once, but
Um,
not back
Rock
yet.
Candy,
Yep, Rock Candy.
and then just my guest last week here was Cliff Randy from Maiden Kane.
Oh,
Oh,
okay, yeah,
awesome.
Cliff,
And,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
You know,
Great guys.
there's a term, as you guys have probably heard, arena rock.
Arena Rock,
Yeah.
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 So I guess they do their arena rock, and just like you, he's got an incredible range, and he's truly a pro. I mean, he takes his voice very seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
For sure.
They
A
all do.
great
It's
singer.
a fabulous band, and some
Yeah.
great guys, and actually all the bands you
So-
just mentioned are all great guys.
But my point is that I think there's a hunger for that kind of music, especially in Charlotte County.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It seems like like I have a female singer, so we're doing your typical stuff that includes a female singer.
Yeah.
And because we're an 80s dance band, we're concerned with beats per minute. And we
Right.
set up our sets
Sure.
so it gets faster and faster, and we get a dance floor, and
Yeah.
we're cognizant of that.
Sure.
But a lot of times we're playing a lot of the stuff that I kind of think is boring. Whereas you guys are playing stuff that hits a home run on every song. I mean, every song is like boom, Rush. What's that Rush song you guys are doing?
Yeah, we
Limelight.
do
Yeah,
Limelight.
And we've done Tom Sawyer.
Yeah, we've done Tom Sawyer before.
I mean,
but-
those songs are incredible, and people love to hear them. But I can imagine they can't be easy to play, especially with the sequence
Right.
Oh, yeah, no,
that
I mean,
particular one, we don't have a sequence on.
Yeah.
that
on
one.
Tom Sawyer. That
Mhm.
beginning. How do you do that beginning?
Oh, no, Tom Sawyer we
No,
did, but
yeah, Tom
Limelight we
Sawyer
did.
we did. I'm
Limelight we don't.
sorry.
Yeah,
I'm
Limelight we
sorry.
don't.
Right. Yeah.
But Tom Sawyer we did, but
Yeah, yeah.
Limelight we don't. We don't run any sequencing
Yeah.
for that. There's a lot of songs that we do that we don't, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of songs we wouldn't even have to run sequence. But we're trying to kind of give you the whole feel and the vibe.
Take you
and-
back.
It's a concert. You guys are putting on a concert.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, we do
yeah.
Pink Floyd, and it's kind of like without. I mean, they're running a 20-piece band on stage. When David Gilmour's out there playing his set, and it's like it's really hard to just kind of like you're not really going to do Pink Floyd a really good justice with a 3-piece band. So we have to kind of add a little of those little flares. That's where we're very strategic, and Mike Salois
Mhm.
actually handles the majority of that, being very strategic in what we're going to use, and then we'll
Very
try
smart.
it, and then we'll be like, nope, too much. Let's get rid of that. Get rid of that, and it's usually more, and then we cut it back to where the band is still the focus.
Keys.
We are never taken over by keyboards. Even in some of the big songs that we do, whether it's Foreigner,
It's
obviously.
safe
and
to
stuff,
say
so-
you're a guitar orientated band.
for sure.
Yeah,
For sure.
absolutely.
No
That's
doubt,
number
no
one.
doubt,
That's
yeah.
number one
Yeah.
for sure.
What do you do, Dane? What do you do when people come up and they make requests and they're polite about it and they're like, they want to hear something? How do you handle that?
I'm just really polite back. Generally speaking, I'm sorry, I don't know that one. I'll put it in the hopper and see what they think. And I do. I will let them know on a text thread.
Yeah.
This was requested. This was requested. And some of them we've tried and added them to the list, and then some of them haven't really been.
Some of them don't make
our
sense.
copy.
Like somebody may say Sweet Home Alabama. Like, hey, we're not that kind
right,
of band. So-
right, yeah, exactly.
I've had
And,
country
yeah.
country requests, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I played, I
And the one-
learned like 40 country songs, but
Yeah.
this band is not real. I mean,
No.
we could pull out a couple very crazy off the chain country songs and turn them into a Lost Boys song and make it work, but it's not the direction that we're going for. And
Mhm.
again, the bottom line is the chemistry of the band is what's really keeping the band in a really, really nice feel.
Yeah, and there are songs that come out, or people that come out and they ask for the ones that everybody's playing, and I always tell them like the same thing. I'm like, we don't play that song. There's a ton of bands that do, and they're awesome. So go check them out.
Yeah.
Because I think when we started this project, that was he wasn't lying earlier when he said that was a kind of an issue, is trying to figure out what songs, what's the identity of the band.
Yeah. Do we
And
have one? Are
and
we going to
and
get one?
and
Are
the
we looking to market it?
the identity of the band now is we
Yeah.
are a tribute to the music that lives forever.
Yeah.
Is that a great song?
Yeah.
And do we
That
love
is
it? And are we
that's our tag.
feeling it?
Right.
That's the most important thing. I really feel like, I was in a band one time in Chicago and we played like a lot of 90s stuff. I have nothing against 90s stuff, but that's about all we did was 90s. I think right now 15% of our stuff is 90s, which is great. But at the time, I was singing all these 90s songs and my voice started going real flat. I was getting flat and sharp. And for the first time in my life, I think, 30 years old. I went to a vocal coach and I said, "What's going on?" And he said, "Well, I'll tell you what's going on. You have a voice like Bruce Dickinson and you're trying to sing
Yeah.
on this other." He's like, you're bored. Like your voice is getting bored. You're not using it to the full
Interesting.
potential. And he was right. I mean, this was a guy who made me sing on the top stage at a church, and he would stand in the back pew and ask me to project my voice out to him. And he's like, "That's your voice. That's when your voice is going full." So so yeah, just to feel it. To feel it.
Now,
That's
do you
really
warm up
important.
your vocals before the show? Are you doing any particular lozenges, sprays, gargling with the salty water? Like, what are you doing to
Not really. I've
warm
done
up?
you know what recently I've been doing is coffee. I'm drinking coffee. It seems to kind of open everything up.
Yeah, it's a
Gives me
stimulant.
a little
So
bit of caffeine before I go on, gets me charged up a little bit, and it's warm. I'm kind of strange when it comes to teas and stuff like that. When I drink the teas, I tend to dry up a little bit for some reason. So it's been coffee and water, and hop water and things like that. That's about all I do. As far as warming up, yeah, I mean just falsetto, warm ups every day that we're going, and then just kind of belting out a few notes before we go on.
yeah, which I would think, me personally, that's actually tough to do when you're only doing a show like every other week
Yeah,
or something like that. There was
yeah,
times that we were doing one show a month, and it's like some of the songs. I mean, even like the backup stuff that we do. Honestly, the backup singers of some of the bands that we do, those singers are better than most lead singers
I
of a
agree.
lot of other bands. So honestly, for us, it was good. I mean, we had to kind of work hard too. It's trying to, and we still have to try to work hard to do the backups with some of these big songs. And when you're
huge.
only so the more we play, it's little bit easier subconsciously to get those into your head a little bit as far as like where you're supposed to be and where these parts. So the more you play, the better that is. So when you're a band like us that is kind of a part-time, I mean, as far as how many times we play, I mean, we're not doing 20 shows a month. We're just doing a couple here or there, 3 shows, a month or so. That makes it tough, and it makes it tough on him because the range that he has to
Sure,
sing in
sure.
is in yeah. I mean, honestly, it's impressive. It's very impressive in my opinion.
So speaking about
So
shows, Dane, tell us about this big show coming up soon in St.
S-
Pete.
so yeah, we're doing the Bike Fest, playing at OCC. So we're opening up the weekend. It's Saturday, November 23rd. We go on at noon. So I think it's noon to 4.
we
So
have Friday night too. I think it's Friday. It's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday
I
set
think
up
you're right.
because
So we're kicking off the
Sunset
Saturday.
Strip is playing. And they're actually Molly Hatchet is actually the headliner
Yeah, I
for the
saw Molly
Friday
Hatchet
night.
last
Yeah,
year
we just
Friday.
yeah, saw them at well, they
at
were
Thunder.
at Thunder. It was
Yeah,
awesome. Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
but just one guitar player. I thought that was weird, right? Didn't they step
yeah,
three?
but
yeah,
yeah, they did.
yeah,
Isn't that weird?
But
yeah,
they were fabulous.
Oh, he pulled it
So
off. Yeah.
yeah,
yeah. So yeah, we're excited about that. We've played the OCC a few times now, and Victor up there, he loved Victor, and yeah, so it's fun playing up there. We're getting a whole new following
yeah,
up
new
there,
following
and yeah,
bikers
it's
and
exciting.
and they're very loyal. And
Well,
Yeah.
that's what's great.
that
And
event has
you
gotten
know,
bigger and bigger each year.
it
Yes.
is. It
Yes.
For
is.
the first time, a couple years ago, for the very first time, I went to Daytona to experience it.
Mm,
The big one in February.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
right after the
Yeah.
the five the what do you do it? The Daytona 500.
Yeah.
So there's people that are still there.
Right.
Every hotel's packed.
Yep.
And they shut down some of the roads, and it's just nothing but bike parades.
Yep.
And the cool thing is that there were tribute bands all over the place, and good tribute bands.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
Like a
fabulous.
Kiss
They
tribute band,
Mm-hmm.
that Van Halen tribute band that comes around here,
Unchained.
completely
Yeah,
unchained.
completely
Yeah.
unchained.
A lot of good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
but you guys should look into playing up there because I think that
Yeah, we've
with what
talked about trying to get a little bit into the, even the Leesburg, because Leesburg's gotten huge, even Pensacola's got.
Hmm.
I mean, the whole system has gotten, but there's a lot of politics in music, so you have to kind of work your angles around all that
Yeah.
too,
plus you guys have day jobs too. It's
as you
like, you know,
know.
it's not like you can
Yeah,
just
it's
pack up and
like,
go, you know?
well,
Right.
yeah, they can't just take off
Right.
like 3 days to go
Right.
party on, play a show.
Yeah.
But then that's me talking since I just went to Europe and
Right.
came back. And whatever. I'll make it happen.
So let's go a little bit. Let's take a little journey back to your childhoods. Okay. So what were you listening to? What were some of your favorite records growing up? What were some of your favorite concerts growing up?
Wow. I mean, I think ACDC Back in Black was a big one for
Monster
me.
record.
My dad. I remember my dad listening to it. My dad listening to Crocus, Headhunter, like
Yeah,
that
which
kind of
was
stuff. He wasn't even
yeah,
really a metal guy, but I remember
it
him
was just
loving Heavens on
power rock,
Fire
man.
by
Yeah.
Kiss, and just that stuff. My sisters are a little bit older than me, so there was a lot of music. Man, they dragged me to Grease, the movie Grease, like 72 times. I went with my older sisters, so. Just all kinds of music. I mean, honestly, even the yacht rock stuff. I love that stuff. It's
Yeah.
So
it's
is it
it's
safe
all
to
good.
say there was always music in your home growing up, in your car,
Always,
right?
yeah, bunch
All
of
different types of
yeah,
music.
all different types, yeah, and that's me. I love it all.
I always ask every band that comes through here, what are your thoughts on Kiss? You know, some people say I absolutely love them. Some people say, you know, I don't care for them. Some people will say, hey, they were the pioneers, man. There wouldn't be all these other bands without Kiss. What are your thoughts on
Yeah,
Kiss?
Yeah, their marketing was amazing, and
marketing
I
was awesome.
definitely I was into every type of music possible under the sun. So I actually, yeah, I mean, late 70s, definitely. Yeah, Kiss was definitely a huge one for me at the time, to be
Yeah,
Do you remember
honest.
when Destroyer came out?
Yeah,
What
yeah,
a monster record that
yeah.
was, man.
It
I
was.
got hooked. I was like,
Yeah,
I
oh my
mean,
God.
yeah,
I was lucky to be able to watch Kiss because I was raised in a very religious family,
Oh, really?
and that Kiss was not quite in the religious kind of vein for my
yeah,
parents.
for sure.
They didn't, there was a very evil look to it. And Don Kirshner's rock concert, which is what I used to always watch everything on.
Saturday night at midnight.
Ah, Jesus, everything. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, it was. Yeah, I was surprised that they were so open to so much music.
Yeah,
And I grew up with all I grew up with all your most famous guitar players, obviously. So I mean, I was into Led Zeppelin and Jeff Beck was
right.
Jeff
Yeah,
Beck was one of my just
Jeff
fabulous
Beck was amazing.
favorites. Um,
So how did you come into playing guitar? Like, did somebody hand you a guitar and say, hey,
my
learn this?
brother played acoustic guitar, and since he was kind of in the 60s, he would play, a lot of the Dan Fogelberg and it just all acoustic music, everything, Fleetwood Mac, all of the old bands. So he played a lot. Neil Young, um, just Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. So I actually played piano originally. My mom was a piano teacher for 20 years. So we all kind of were taught to play piano, and we had a nice baby grand in my house. So we all learned how to play piano. I didn't do so well because I was so improv, and I love being improv. That my mom was very strict as a piano teacher. So I decided instead of playing, because I was always getting count that out, do this and that. And I decided, well, you know what? I'm going to play guitar because my mom can't tell me what to play on guitar. So actually, yeah. And I put on the Black Sabbath records, boom, had to do Heaven and Hell. And iconic. And I just started going off on electric guitar, which my brother never did. My brother always stayed on acoustic. So he was always into the singer songwriter stuff. But then I have 4 sisters, all older than me. So they were into REO Speedwagon, Journey, Styx, Air
Oh
Supply, Asia.
yeah.
I love it all. I loved Yes. I mean, I
Mhm.
loved every style of music. I've played every music. I played bass in a reggae band for a couple of years. I played some country stuff before. I mean, I took jazz lessons. So I've done everything, but I've always had my own thing, and I've always been kind of self-taught on everything I do. So, and I kind of just I go with that and I enjoy it.
So you think it's maybe your early piano might have helped you later in your guitar days?
Yeah, looking back at that, I would have loved to have continued my piano playing, to be honest. It was something I kind of like just I wanted to be on the front of the stage and I wanted to rock.
So
So
like,
that's I think everybody wanted to do that, which is why Kiss was such an influence in. So if you're asking, just bring Kiss back into the equation. Kiss was like this larger than life kind of look, and they
yeah.
had their just they were larger than life to a little kid, 9-year-old kid, So I kind of just I thought that's what I want to do, and piano was like you're going to learn the classics, you're going to learn the jazz, so it's very very disciplined, just like jazz, very disciplined. I worked on classical before, very disciplined. I was not the disciplined guy. So I just wanted to do my own thing. So I was not that good in school per se in musical instruments, like listening to a teacher tell me what to do. And you know what? All my favorite players like Jeff Beck and Jimi Hendrix and Eddie Van Halen,
Randy
late
Rhodes.
the late great, yeah, all those guys. Randy had definitely classical schooling, but all these other guys like Jeff Beck, if you read, I mean, you can read his biography. He didn't have any lessons. He's self-taught. Like, I mean, he literally puts it all together on his in his own head. And I respect that because that is true to the heart and soul of your playing. And I've always held that in the way I approach my guitar playing. So I've always been a feel player, and I'm not a very mechanical player, but I feel. So I rather have the feeling in my playing than being this technical wizard because it doesn't do anything for me. So when I play, I always feel like I'm kind of just throwing out my soul. And that's kind of what Dane was saying about his vocals. And that's what everybody kind of, I'm not up there being technical to like, which is why I don't just stand on the front of the stage and do my Eddie Van Halen solo and do eruption like everyone else does. I just don't do that because that there's not really anything that I gravitate towards that because that was that one man's just staple of what he and I don't care how great you do it, even with a tribute band, he will only be the only one that I will ever like. He's the one that created it, felt it, and sold it. And all everyone else is just an imitator, which is why I didn't do very well in jazz or classical because the fake book of 50 jazz songs that I had to like my teacher wanted me to learn, 50 songs that you have to learn classical guitar, classical gas, all of this, all of the traditional music, you have to kind of learn. And you really need to learn it to really understand and appreciate the music style. So I dabbled in everything, which is why I played bass in a reggae band.
Very cool.
Because my metal drummer at the time, he was playing percussion. He wasn't playing drums. We had a drummer. My metal drummer was playing percussion. And I'm like, they need a bass player. I'll give it a try.
Yeah.
Sure enough. And I did.
You put some
So,
feel into it, right?
oh, absolutely. I
Especially
mean,
for that kind of music.
actually, the bass is probably it's one of the best instruments to play. I mean, percussion's awesome too, but playing bass in a reggae
Well,
band,
it's a percussive instrument in
yeah.
itself, right?
Because
So
after 2 years, the guitar player left. We got a bass player, and then I actually played 2 guitar gigs, playing guitar in a reggae band, and I hated my life. All the wonderful stuff I love by being a bass player as a reggae bass player, I could not play guitar in a reggae band.
yeah,
I
it's
just
different.
couldn't. I just a couple
a different
chunks on
animal.
a 2 and a 4 just really weren't doing it for me. So I moved on from that band. So, but I had dabbled in all music styles though. So I think one of the reasons why the Lost Boys is such an incredible kind of entity is because everyone in the band has a extremely diverse musical palette to choose from.
Mhm.
And we all have a lot of similarities. And there's other guys in the band that they're a little outside different than what we are. So I mean it's we can pull anything out of the hat from any era and go, oh man, I remember that. I remember that. I love that. I mean, and that's one of the reasons that was actually the attraction to this band for me because I wasn't really a cover guy. I've always been an original guy my whole life. I've always liked to be original style of music and create my own
Tell our
parts.
audience some of the
So,
original stuff that you've done or bands you've been in.
well, going all the way back in those days, Steel Angel was one of the earliest bands, and actually Rico actually played in that band as well. They lost a really, really great young guitar player that was a fabulous. Mark DeClalla was his name. I took his place in that band, and we were doing kind of the Queensryche type of material back then. and we had an amazing young singer that was incredible vocal wise. Um, Again, car accident took his life way too early when he was 21.
Jeez.
So that band kind of went to the wayside. So then it was just a matter of a lot of different varieties of you didn't back in the 80s and all, and you didn't put bands together to be cover bands. We were all putting bands together back
Sure.
then to be original
Right. Of
bands,
course.
not
Yeah.
covers.
Right.
So everyone was fighting for the originals, like the originals, the record deal, all of
Did you
that
ever do the
wonderful
LA
stuff.
Sunset Strip? Did you ever go out there and do all that stuff?
I did do all that stuff. Never played out there though. I never was a musician out in that area, but yeah, you had to go out there. And I used to go out there for a lot of the NAMM shows because I've been in the music business for a long time, not in playing guitar, but in selling guitars and repairing guitars and
Sure.
all of that wonderful stuff. So yeah, I had the wonderful opportunities to go to Chicago for the NAMM shows every year, Atlanta for the NAMM shows every year, California, Hollywood for the shows. So yeah, I got a good taste of a lot of craziness out in those areas. And those areas, I mean, I like to come back to my little Sarasota because it's like, wow, there's only like 6 original bands fighting for one spot. Out there were like hundreds of bands. It was
And
crazy.
unfortunately, they had to sell their
So
own tickets. You know, that's gonna
I
suck.
know.
So,
yeah.
so let's now talk about, what do you guys do when you're not performing? Like what are some of your hobbies, some of your interests? Dane, why don't you start first?
Well, I mean, I'm an artist as far as painting, drawing, writing lyrics. I also have original projects going on, and so I do like to write lyrics a lot. I am an operations manager for a fire safety firm, so that takes a lot of my time, a lot. But yeah, I mean, I really want to get back to painting and drawing and stuff like that. That it takes a lot of time because I'm sort of a
What do you
perfectionist.
love the
So
most about living in South Florida, or I should say Southwest Florida?
I love the people and the freedom. When I was in when I was in Chicago, there was just Illinois in general. There was always this nagging feeling with everybody, like I got to get out of here. I got to move somewhere.
Same with New York.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
and
could see
and
that.
so in Florida, this is where everybody goes, and I wasn't going to move here until I was in my 70s, but I moved down early. I'm glad I did because I love it. I feel like God put me in a perfect little pocket. I met these
Oh,
brothers, and yeah, it's just been amazing. So
Yeah, I mean, I think Sarasota is the greatest place to live. I mean,
it's
I'm so
awesome.
happy to be here.
It's awesome.
absolutely.
Except for that guy Milton,
I
he needs
I
to
know.
never come back here
Well, here's the
again.
thing, guys.
Yeah.
Look,
yeah.
we take that risk. We love living here
Yep.
so much
Yep.
that we're going to roll the dice and
Yep.
we're going to say, all right. So, what was that like once in a lifetime kind of storm? I mean, are we going to see another Milton in our lifetime, or like, I guess maybe back to
Hope not.
back was kind of like the weird part of it.
That
Well,
was it was.
yeah. This coast getting a little destruction every other weekend was a little bit out of the norm, and that's
Yeah.
why when people are like, "I got to get out of here, I'm leaving." I mean, I know people that are like, "I got to get out of here now." I'm like,
What
Yeah.
zones
I've been
do you
here
guys
I've
live
been here
in?
50 years, and I'm
I'm
like,
in a
I haven't had to,
yeah.
there hasn't been really that many storms that I can name that I
I
was
moved down the
that
week of
nervous. So
Irma. So
yeah, there you go. It's perfect,
I've been dealing with hurricanes a
perfect,
lot since I moved down here, but
perfect.
I live in a no flood zone
Okay.
whatsoever.
How about
So
yourself? You live by the water?
Oh no, yeah, I would never.
I'm in zone E.
Oh
So I try to
there you
explain to my
go.
friends in New York that
yeah,
were crying and calling me up
Yeah.
saying there's a 5 coming.
yeah.
You got to evacuate.
Yeah.
I go, listen, I live in zone E. I'm safe.
Yeah.
Except if you're out by the artisan, which all those zonies got flooded, which is
Oh yeah, no, yeah, that was horrible.
that was a bad that's
Oh
a
my God.
horrible
Yeah.
horrible thing that all
Yeah.
these people are like, well, we don't have flood insurance because we never needed it. But until they built the $3 million houses up on the hill there
Hmm.
that they created, and they all those houses got flooded. But yeah, Zoni's a good safe area.
So Mark, you're doing a lot of guitar work. What else do you do with yourself?
Outside of guitar work, well, the bands keep me pretty busy now. Original band keeps me busy. The cover band obviously keeps me busy. Trying to keep the guitar business running in a nice fashion. Since I've been doing it my whole life.
How can people find that guitar business? What if somebody wants to bring some guitars to you? How would they find you?
Well, I don't really do any advertising per se outside of a little Facebook thing here and there. Because my business has always been word of mouth. Now, when I worked out of Sam Ash as a subcontractor, obviously people would all know where to find me through Sam Ash. Um, my hands aren't really good enough to do my full-time business anymore, so I've actually gone to kind of a part-time business with my repairs, which is been a little challenging for the type of instruments that I work on, which is usually the really expensive because I'm kind of top tier on what I do, and the clients that need my work are kind of the newer clients coming down from New York and all these other places that are used to paying the higher rates for some really high end quality work. So, I have a business card, but I don't do a lot of marketing for my
Gotcha.
business.
Sure.
I don't throw out Borgie's Guitar Repair. Most everyone in this area, after this many years, they all know who I am, and all of my people that are the top tier people, they definitely find me. I work with the music stores, music go around. My old manager now that I used to subcontract under, he's out at Guitar Center. So, outside of conflict of interest, which there isn't because of the type of work that I do is a lot different than most of all the other repair guys in the area, they'll give out my business cards. So if they ask, if you're in a music store and you're like, hey, I need this done, this is
Well,
a guy to go to.
we have a mutual
So,
friend, and I'll say his name because he was on the show a few weeks ago, Mike Zimmerman.
sure.
And he said nothing but great things about you and your repair business because he says that you're the best in the area. And I guess you used to do things for one of the places that he worked at. Was it a pawn shop or something?
I still do. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's Cody's Pawn.
Cody.
Cody's
Yeah,
Pawn. I just
great guy,
yeah,
Cody.
yeah. I got 5 guitars right in the at the house for Rod, my buddy Rod Vaughn, who actually runs Cody's.
Yeah,
So,
that's it, Rod.
yeah, absolutely. And everybody knows who I am, what I'm about. They all know me by Borgie, and they all know the type of work that I do. And yeah, I mean, I've worked for Rick Derringer for like 30 years of his career. Um, my buddy Bill Leverty and Firehouse, they all guys used to live here. They actually now still live in Clearwater area. I work for Dickie Betts. I've worked for Greg Allman. I mean, the list of people that I've actually worked for over the years is quite elaborate. For me though, I'm a very humble guy, very modest, and I just let my work talk. I don't throw names around here and there because it doesn't really
Yeah.
matter. So guys know me and they know who I am and what I'm all about, and it's
Or the
fabulous,
short answer is Mark Borgmeyer on Facebook.
No, actually, if you really want the truth, you just go on. You can either put my name or you can put Borgie's, and
Yeah.
you can put Borgie in any Google search whatsoever, and it will go all the way back to the 80s to stuff that was long before computers were out.
Well,
So-
think about it. First of
so-
all, Borgie is a cool nickname.
It is.
You know, Borgmeyer, so Borgie. And then
It's
your
true.
parents named you Dane. That's a pretty badass name.
It's pretty cool.
I mean, to be a rock star and your first name is Dane.
Yeah, and I will tell
Yeah.
you, I will tell you,
pretty
'cause
happy with it.
this is a wonderful story. The name Borgie for me actually came from the name that my father had on his World War II fighter plane, since my dad was in the war. So it was Borgie, and he was Borgie and nicknamed Borgie in World War II. So he flew in D-Day, and that name as a kid for me, because I had no idea what I was going to do, but that name stuck for me when I decided to open up my repair business, and I wanted to do something in my dad's name. So that's where my Borgies came
Very
from.
cool.
Nice.
Now my
Very cool.
brother's name is actually Rock. So sometimes I wonder why I didn't get Rock, because I'm like, well, that would have been good. That would have really put me into the music industry with the name Rock. But Borgie actually for my repair business and my stage name. To be honest, I go with that more than I go with Mark
Well,
anymore. And everybody knows me. People come up to me at a Stottlemeyer's or a Woody's, and they'll go. They'll introduce one of their friends, and I'll be like, "Yeah, hey, I'm Mark," and they're like, "Are you Borgie?" And I'm
Yeah,
like, "I don't even know what to say
That happened to
anymore."
me one time. I think the first time I ever met you, I didn't know what your first name was. I just
Well,
called you
most
Borgie.
people
Yeah.
don't.
That's it. Yeah.
Most people don't, and I don't even know how to answer the phone half the time now because
Yeah.
Borgie. Well, no, I was looking
Borgie's-
for Mark, and then it's like, I'm Mark. Oh no, I'm actually waiting for Borgie. Is he in?
Yeah.
So it's actually been a lot of fun, and this whole area has been so supportive of me. And
Yeah.
I've supported this area my whole life, and I love this area. I love Sarasota, and I love my music community here, and I love all the musicians that have been in this area forever.
Well, very cool.
So-
Well, in our final minute, how can people find out where the Lost Boys are going to be playing next? What's your social? Tell us your contact information.
So if you go to the Lost Boys Florida on Facebook.
Now, Florida is spelt out Florida or just FLA?
Yep. It's Florida spelled out. So the Lost Boys Florida. We update our, every flyer. We're constantly advertising. especially starting 2 weeks before a show. We just start flooding
Are
everything.
you
with
doing a
it.
Facebook invite?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Every event has invites,
so
and we do. Yeah, and those are amazing. Again, Threeps in Chicago. He takes care of all that
Are you
stuff.
working with Go tonight?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Chris
That
Leary
helps
has
too.
us
Yeah,
set up
Chris
in
is
there.
doing
Yep.
it.
We use
Yeah,
that.
yeah, trying
Yeah.
to keep the marketing part of it together because you know how important that is.
Yeah.
Right.
That's actually something that we didn't do in the very beginning.
Yeah.
We were trying, but it was just hard without like one guy being able to do it, and
Yeah.
then the communications. But now it's gotten to be where we're definitely on top of things a lot more than we were, which is
For sure.
great because obviously you have to be.
Yeah.
You have to really let people know what you're about, where you're playing, and if they want to come see the band for sure. So marketing is huge.
So, in our final thought here, just in a very short sentence, what would you tell someone who's listening to this that's never seen you guys before, and you're going to invite them to welcome them to come to see a Lost Boys concert? What would you say? How would you describe it?
I mean, I think our tagline speaks. We are a tribute to the music that lives forever. I mean, we love to get up and take people back in time, kind of put them on a rock and roll time machine, and you don't know what's coming next, so don't even try to guess because you don't know what song is coming next. So that's what I would say. If you want to do something
Yeah, we're
different
gonna.
and just get out there and get a good live concert
Almost the
experience.
soundtrack to our lives, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. And one of the cool things about OCC that Victor said, which I love, the last time we were staying there, he goes, the last time we were playing there, he goes, you know what? I've got it now. I see it. He's like, I was watching all the people. They watch you guys. It's like a concert.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
concert show.
And that's
It's a
what we
concert
do.
show, and you're
That
gonna have a
it
good
is a
time because
concert.
we're gonna throw a ton of energy off that
Yeah,
stage.
for
I can
sure.
guarantee you that.
Yep.
I mean, that is never not gonna be in the rapport. So if we're throwing a ton of energy out there, we are gonna see some energy come back.
Well, folks listening, if you haven't seen or heard the Lost Boys, I highly recommend it. I can't wait to see you guys again. I want to thank you both for coming in.
Awesome.
Dane
Thanks
and
for
Borgie?
having. Yeah, thanks
All
for
right,
having
Craig,
us.
thanks
For
for
sure.
having us,
Thank
man.
you.
We
All right,
appreciate
yeah,
it.
good deal.
All right,
Awesome.
brother.
Thank
Thanks.
you, sir.